I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Sorry, I was just busy creating a cheesy introduction to this YouTube video. If you're a retro video gamer like me, one of the things that you might sometimes do is buy loose video games like this. And why do we do it? Because buying the original box games can be quite expensive these days. So, what to do? Well, a couple of months ago I sadly broke my wrist while skating, so I haven't been able to do much in the artwork side of things, which is why the output on that front has dropped off somewhat. But I put my thinking cap on and thought about these loose video games that I have, and I thought, well, why don't I make a little project to create some boxes for them? And that's exactly what I did. Once my wrist was healed enough, I was able to go into Photoshop and create just one such design. So, first of all, I tackled the so-called Pulse line games, the original Famicom games that Nintendo released here in Japan. And whilst it's not an exact replica of the label artwork, it's my own take on it. And I basically created these little sleeves here. I didn't make the plastic boxes these are in, those were bought from Amazon Japan. But it now means that I have a much more presentable way of not only showing my games so that I can easily find them on a shelf, not that I really have a shelf, but one day I'll have a bookshelf. And not only that, it protects them as well from the various elements, the atmosphere, the moisture and so forth that we get here in Japan. So, the next step was games like, for example, Rockman. Now, buying those in original boxes here in Japan is expensive, like it is in many parts of the world. So my wrist recovered enough for me to be able to do some artwork. Now, I didn't record this process because my focus was on enjoying the process, not on making everything perfect for YouTube. But I was very happy with the result. This was done with ink and Copic marker onto Copic paper. What I then did with the finished artwork was to take this down to a convenience store here in Japan, scan it in, and then take it into Photoshop and put it into my template. Now, this template, I will explain where you can get it at the end of the video, but if you can't wait for that, just have a look in the video comments. It's all explained down there. Anyway, not video comments, the video description. Anyway, so once I had adapted my Photoshop template, I could then go about creating the actual box itself. So what do I use to create these boxes? Well, nothing too expensive. In fact, I bought most of this stuff from Daiso, a 100 yen store here in Japan. That's the equivalent of like a dollar store or a pound shop, for example. So what do I use? Well, I use some Pritt stick, or the Japanese version thereof, a sharp design knife, some double-sided sticky tape, a plastic ruler, a metal ruler, some plain white card, a cutting board, and last, a 2cm circular craft punch. These are very obtainable here in Japan because paper crafts are still a very popular thing. So in terms of constructing these are the basic steps that I follow. First of all, I take my printout of the design and I basically cover the back side of that completely with Pritt stick. I use Pritt stick because it dries quickly and dries without lumps and bumps. This is then carefully adhered to a cutout sheet of white card, and I use a plastic ruler to push the artwork down onto the card, ensuring there are no creases or air bubbles. This is then left to dry completely. Not shown in the materials that I use because I bought it from Amazon Japan and I've now since run out of it. I use some clear plastic laminating film. You may have used this to cover exercise books at school, or maybe a paperback's cover that you really want to protect. It's clear film with a sticky back that you can then adhere to paper. I cut out the right size of this, peel off a corner of it, and using the plastic ruler, push the plastic over the design. I then use the blunt edge of a plastic ruler to really push the plastic film onto the paper, making sure it looks as best as possible. I have noticed that the printouts from the convenience store are a little bit waxy when it comes to the darker colours, but that's just the nature of the way that it prints. So inkjet prints I think would look a lot better still, but I still think these turned out well. With the clear plastic film adhered to the design, I then have to cut this out. To do this, I use the metal ruler, the cutting board and the sharp design knife. I use a metal ruler because if I use a plastic or a wooden ruler, I'd eventually trim away the edges of the ruler and the lines would not be perfectly straight. This takes a little bit of work to do carefully, but it can be done quite easily. Once this is fully cut out, I then get the 2cm circular craft punch and push out the holes for the thumb little cutouts that I've got on the box. With these cut out, I can then use the metal ruler again and the blunt edge of the design knife, that's the underside of the blade, to very carefully score the plastic and the card so that I will end up with clean fold lines on the flaps and the panels. To do this, I use the metal ruler behind where I've scored the card and the plastic film and gently push against. This means that I end up with clean folds that look professional. Once all the flaps and panels have been creased and folded, I then work on assembling the box. I use clear double-sided sticky tape to attach this to the various flaps and very carefully fold the design up to assemble the box. And that's pretty much it. That's how I assemble the boxes. From end to end, it takes me anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes to complete. It's not overly that difficult. And the end result, I think, looks really stylish. It's personalised to my collection. I wasn't looking to create original boxes here after all. And that way, a little bit of myself is in the designs. So, if you want to download the template, you can look in the video description. It's all there. You click on the link to Patreon, and if you become a member, you can download the template as many times as you want. And if you don't want to subscribe on Patreon, you can always drop me a little coffee donation. I'll more than happily send you the Photoshop design. It's yours to modify and use as appropriate. But otherwise, that's pretty much how I've done it. I'm really pleased with how these have turned out. A short little video to start the year, and I hope you found it interesting. If you've got any questions or how to do this, questions, that kind of stuff, just throw them down in the comments. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Anyway, that's all from me for now. I guess that all remains for me to say is to see you soon. Peace!